that you are not my tribal.
1, 2, 3. Oh, welcome to Ring Takes here with Brian and Lewis as my co-host. I'm Daniel. Thank you guys for joining me. Let's get right into it. It's episode 68, man. You are not my tribal chief, man. If I had some water, I would pour it out for Paul Heyman as the wise man in the Bloodline. It looks like his tenure in the Bloodline has come to an end at the hands of Solo Sikoa and the rest of the, I don't even know what to call them. Are they the Guerrillas of Destiny still, or the wolves of the Bloodline? But yes, you guys saw it. Paul Heyman basically getting taken out by Solo Sikoa for not acknowledging him as the new tribal chief. Crazy things have been happening in the Bloodline. You got Tamatonga and Toa Longa. Is that how you say it? What's Toa?
Tongaloa.
Another one.
I messed it up too. So
hey, I'm asking here. I did not put a precursor out there. I'm asking.
But I messed that one up too. So
one name I'm not gonna mess up is Jacob Fatu, who has been entered into the Bloodline, came in and attacked Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton last week to save Solo last week. Paul Heyman in this getting taken out by Solo. What do you guys think about that first? Let's get into that first.
All right. So you want just the response to just Paul Heyman first? Because I was initially going to get into.
Yes, that's what I was going to start off on. But yes,
reactions first.
Okay. Let's talk. All right. First, let's talk about that. All right. So Paul Heyman, as Daniel has said off the air, may be the greatest manager or on-air talent that WWE has right now, and one of the reasons why that is because it's the little things. And I know we crap on Vince McMahon for his reign when he was the chairman and everything. All that stuff is well documented. But one of his great good qualities was the fact that he would always focus on the little things like your like how you're looking at somebody or like just your facial expression and the little things like that actually make the moment bigger. And you see Paul Heyman here, and
he went the extra mile.
The rumor is he was up for 24 hours to make his face look that way. If that is true, that is old school sticking to the gimmick and doing whatever it is possible to make the moment special. And the one thing that I loved about it is that right after he said, "You are not my tribal chief," did you not see like the emotion on his face? It's almost like he knew because he said that he was in trouble. It was like he knew, like, I'm about to catch an ass whooping right now for standing up for Roman Reigns and not acknowledging Solo. That was the one thing that got me. It's like I'm not with you, and I know what you have to do, but I'm just gonna take it anyway. That was what I liked about it. And I mean, they beat him down. I mean, Jacob Fox gave him a splash. They put him through. I mean, Paul Heyman, he took the bumps. He took that bump through the table. I mean, they tried. I mean, they tried to protect him, but at the end of the day, going through a table is still going through a table. I mean, you still have to take that. And he went through the table. And now Paul Heyman is out of the equation. Now they are like a true heel stable. I don't know if they're gonna still call themselves the Bloodline. I'm guessing for now because of the family ties. But it was definitely a very engaging promo. Paul Heyman, yeah, he's one of the best at all times. And like I said, it's just the little things, and it was very entertaining.
Yes. For me, Paul is one of the greatest managers in WWE history. Yeah, that's my numero uno. And the fact that he's still going and still putting on this level of commitment and creativity and passion to these stories, from the stuff with Punk to stuff with Brock to stuff with Roman, which I think with Roman has been phenomenal, but just this where he's at now with this, like Brian said, with the whole commitment and the staying, because that was the first thing that caught my eye was literally the redness in that. Was that like either he's been crying or he's just exhausted or like anxiety ridden, like just like these guys are killers. They're not what Roman built up. They're not what we were supposed to be. And he's trapped, and the fact that, the story is, him going, you're not my tribal chief and you're not Roman. And like what he's been trying to convey this whole time to Solo. He's like, listen, you might be here, you might be doing this, but this isn't what Roman wanted. And for Solo to be like, he's not coming back. He's like,
yeah.
And to take that ultimate sacrifice of just being like, you know what? I don't care how many of you guys there are. I don't care how strong and crazy you guys are. I'm not acknowledging you. How big of a fact, especially how much he acknowledged Roman when he was here. The fact that this man loved Roman and showed so much passion for the role he was playing and the character he was playing, and for that character not to be there right now and somebody else trying to step in those shoes, he's like, no, you are not him.
Let's add the fact that Paul Heyman picked Roman Reigns over Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
So that's another added layer to this. Like, if he's truly invested in Roman Reigns,
exactly,
he's truly invested every ounce.
Yeah, and I applaud him for taking those bumps. Although you did make a mistake, Brian. Jacob Fatu give him a headbutt, not a splash.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You're right. No, it was a headbutt. Yeah, you're right.
Which I thought he was gonna do the splash. I'm like, I don't think Paul can take a splash right now. He might crack the rib.
No.
He's smart enough. He gave him the headbutt. And some secrets. I don't know if you guys remember. I forget what Hell in a Cell it was or who Shane was fighting. I don't think it was Brock. It was somebody. When one of the last few times that Shane jumped off the cell and landed on the table, I forget who he faced.
It was either Undertaker or was it was against Kevin Owens. It was one of those two, Burley. You said it was recent, right?
No, it was Taker. I believe it was Taker.
WrestleMania.
That's when Sammy and KO pulled Undertaker off the table, right?
So
I think so.
So WrestleMania, Undertaker moved out of the way, but at Hell in a Cell, that's when Sammy pulled KO off the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was one of those times where like people were complaining. They're like, "Oh, look, like you could see like the inflated things under the table or whatever." Like, and I'm like, for Paul, I wouldn't mind if they had that there because I'm like,
you gotta take care of the guy.
He needs whatever cushioning he can.
But to go back to that about Shane, inflated things on the table. Y'all know how high he's jumping, right? That's like 20 feet up in the air. So what the fuck you think they're gonna do to the table?
The thing is, everyone compares it to Mankind getting thrown off the table, getting put through Hell in a Cell. Everyone compares any fall to that.
Exactly.
I remember
gifting curse of Hell in a Cell. That man.
I remember when they did a Hell in a Cell with Seth and Dean Ambrose. And they went to the halfway up the cell and then fell off.
Yeah, and then he fell down. Yeah.
Everybody was complaining. I'm like, do you know how crazy a bump why no one else has done it? Like, there's a reason why Shane was the guy that did it. He wanted to create a moment. That's why he wanted to do it. Like, other than that, like, no one's taking that bump.
Exactly, bro. People need to stop using Mick Foley as an example. Mick Foley is an outlier. He's a crazy person.
He's the exception.
But that's the thing is, people compare it to because it's just such a shocking.
Yeah.
The fact that it stood this test of time, like that moment is still talked about. That moment is still highlighted so much because of how crazy it was, and. That's what everybody.
Just think about it.
That's what everybody has ingrained, especially if you probably saw that as a kid, where like nothing's ever going to compare to that because that was the first one to ever happen, and then just nothing is ever going to be
where somebody got thrown.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And that's another thing too is when you look at video games. First thing you do in a Hell in a Cell match, go to the top.
Throw somebody off.
You battle outside and you go to the top and you throw somebody off. That's the first thing you do.
At the same time, the Hell in a Cell match has suffered from that though, because now people look at Hell in a Cell and say, if you're not on top of the cell, then the match automatically sucks. And it's and it's like,
which is not true.
Hell in a Cell match
is not true.
It isn't true. It is not true. because one of the ones that I know we're going off track, but for me, one Hell in a Cell match that stood out, and I feel like they should have done more, was the tag team match with the New Day and the Usos. Yep. I felt like that was such a sick match, and I don't even think they went outside the cell in that match, did they?
Nope.
And I'm like, that's like, you can do so much with it. But going back to Paul, I'm like, congrats. If he didn't have any type of cushioning on that table, I applaud him for still agreeing to take that type of bump.
They said he had to be convinced. They said he had to be convinced to go through the table.
And I think for me, it's just like, I don't know. This just adds so many layers because it's like, all right, is Paul gonna be off TV for a while? Is he gonna align himself with somebody else like a Braun Breaker or go back to CM Punk? Because they kind of hinted at that. There's just so many avenues. Or is he just gonna come back whenever Roman comes back? I feel like there's so many different avenues that you could take. And I feel like I've been hearing a lot about this whole Bloodline Civil War, just because, they've been bringing in so many people. You got Jay doing his own thing. Jimmy's injured. You got Roman The Rock. There's so many avenues. It's just like, I feel like it is going to be a big oh shit moment when Roman comes back.
Okay. So I actually wanted to ask you guys this question in regards to everybody that's come into like Solo Sokola's new bloodline. We've had Tama Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu. Now, eventually, when this bloodline storyline does come to a close, with all these guys that they just brought in, I don't want it to come. I really don't want it to come off like, okay, they only signed these guys just for this one storyline.
Yeah.
Like when the storyline is done, I can see Jacob Fatu still being a top guy. Especially I just saw his entrance on SmackDown. that Samoan werewolf entrance with the flames and everything. It's like I could see him as like a dangerous heel, maybe as a heel champion. I can't see Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa unless they're a tag team. They can go back to that whole Gorillas of Destiny thing.
One of the things we've been talking about is how they need tag teams.
Exactly.
They're a tag team.
They're gonna fall in that same situation that all these other tag teams are dealing with right now, where they're not being booked consistently and nobody really cares as much. We're gonna get into it with the Raw tag team titles, but it's like, I want them to be taken seriously because of their history in New Japan, but because of the history of the tag team division, you don't know that. But
yeah, I feel like if they bring, and I don't know, maybe it's like a little gimmicky, but not really. But I feel like if they brought that Gorillas of Destiny's like war paint, I feel like it'd give them another layer and just make them more dangerous. I feel like the tag team division right now is not the strong. It was the big thing when we finally got the titles. What was it, at Mania, right? Or no,
when they split them over.
Yeah, so it's just like, we got the belts introduced, but now it's like it's time to get legit tag teams going,
which I don't understand, because I feel like there's enough time on TV to input a tag team. There's something that you can do. Hopefully it's building up though.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories taking up time right now. I just want
Pretty Deadly has come back. The Street Profits are getting involved with them.
And
DIY is still there.
Yeah, and mind you, Jacob Fatu might not have been the last person added into this. There's still two other noted names out there. There's Zia Fatu, who's Umaga's youngest son, who's in Booker T's promotion right now, and then there's I'm trying to pronounce his name right. I think it's Hikaleo. He was in New Japan. I know he just left New Japan, so I think he's a free agent now. And I think
he's not a free agent.
He's not a free agent.
He's on the way. He's on the way. There's a trend. There's a trend here, Brian. There's a trend here, Brian. There's a trend here.
Get the whole.
Now, but to get back to everything, Paul Heyman, 58 years old, still given to the business like that, willing to go a day without sleeping. No shaving. And that's another thing I want to give him credit for. Week to week, you can see him break it down. It's little by little, week to week. Not knowing when the Bloodline's showing up, not knowing where Roman's showing up, not too comfortable with the Tonga brothers. not knowing where Jacob Fatu was on the night before he came down to the ceremony. All these little things are adding up, and Paul Heyman slowly but surely just breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
And the point where Solo took out the lei to put place on his head, that's what broke Paul Heyman. You can tell that's what broke. He's like, where did you get those? Like every single layer of this, Paul Heyman. It's Paul Heyman. And Solo's doing good. Like everything's like everyone's kind of crapping on Solo, saying he's not Roman, XYZ. And I think that's the point.
That's the role he has to play.
That's the whole point of the story.
Yeah.
He's not Roman. Yeah, that's
yeah. So that's another thing where I think everything's just adding up. But Paul Heyman, to the point where he gets the mic and he's like, I acknowledge you, I love you. And then he says, you're not my tribal. Like, it's just a testament to everything that he's been putting in, especially with Roman. Like this whole storyline from the beginning, Paul Heyman has been invested in it.
And by the way, by the way, it was very, very smart of them to do that at Madison Square Garden. Doing in New York in front of the smartest of the smartest fans, because they got the perfect reaction for it. Because as soon as he said that, crowd just erupted. So
the funniest thing I saw online, I was like, the kid who went from sneaking into MSG to then getting taken out by the Bloodline at MSG. Main event. Crazy.
That kid was a 14-year-old photographer in the garden, and now he's getting put through a table. That's crazy. That's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
Just shows the testament how great he's been in the business, and for him to take that bump, they said they had to convince him to take that bump, and I'm glad they did because it added to it. Yeah, but it's like, oh man.
Now it's like, yeah, you sons of bitches. Like, how you put Paul
I was really hoping because he was going to come and save him. And when he hit, I was like, Paul.
Like, Paul. Yeah, I know. Like,
where's Roman?
It's just great. It's just great to see Paul Heyman do this, man, and get to the business, man. But kudos to him for doing that. We'll see what this goes. Obviously, they're having a 3-on-3 with Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton at Money in the Bank, which we'll talk about in our next show. But can't wait to see that and see the chaos with that, because they're officially on their own, right? Like, this is a new form of the Bloodline, and they're going to be without the Wise Man. It's like, are they going to get a new Wise Man? People are saying it's going to be a Alejandro Estrada that used to manage Umaga.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
That's what people are saying online. Like, he's going to be the new wise man for the group.
Oh, wow.
That was back in like 2007. So 17 years later, that dude's probably like old as shit now, I think.
That was Umaga's, the dude, like the Cuban dude.
It would make sense.
Oh, man.
It would make sense, but nah, we don't need that.
That would be funny. That would be funny, but we'll see what happens with that.
He's like, I found Umaga's son in the jungle.
You're like, like, he managed our uncle,
and he's the true new wise man. Like, oh god, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that, man. But so many layers. But kudos to Paul Heyman, man. Kudos to Paul. Let's get into our next trend of business. Here is the Wyatt 6 continuing with that crazy Bo Dallas interview on Monday Night Raw. What do you guys think about that? The emotion that Bo has poured into it, the Uncle Howdy and Bo Dallas appearing both on screen. What do you guys think about that?
Let me go first, Brian.
Yeah, nah, go ahead. You got that.
You know me. I love me some depth. And Bo, I was a little nervous with, I think back when they introduced Uncle Howdy, and I think I just didn't know which way they were going to go. And I think just knowing from Bo, from what he did before in NXT, I wasn't sure how that was going to translate to the whole Wyatt 6 thing. But now that with this interview, and I just felt like there was a lot of raw emotion, obviously, because, they addressed it as like, this was my brother. Mm-hmm. I was so close to working with my brother, and it got taken away from me, and it just adds so much layer because it's like the real, this is his real brother, really passed away, and obviously that pain is still there, and you're turning that pain into this group that's like, look, they forgot about us, we're here to show them who we are, and then you're adding the layer of all these other wrestlers that have been here who aren't being utilized, the Nikki Cross, the why am I forgetting his name?
Joe Gacy.
Dexter Loomis.
Dexter Loomis, Joe Gacy.
Rowan coming back, it just all fits very well. And I kind of like the whole, not Mr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but kind of like double personality type thing. So I wonder if maybe this is kind of where originally what Bray was going to come, kind of like a whole, like, kind of like how we had like the Fiend, and then,
I mean, this is different though, because they've never been on screen together. So this is a new element of that, which I like, the acknowledgement, hey, that we're two different people. Mm-hmm. So I do like that. Mm-hmm.
I just wonder how they're going to present it. Like, is Bo going to come out as himself, or is it just going to be Uncle Howdy the whole time? And is Uncle Howdy actually like going to speak to the crowd, or are they just going to cause mayhem? And, we'll find out little by little, but I thought it was just a great layer to add to the group. Like we spoke last time when they were introduced, it's looking more like just a group that's going to cause mayhem and not too supernatural, but with a little bit of supernatural-esque to it, but not too much, which I think is like perfect for it. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. I honestly think that interview was the death of Bo Dallas. I think at this point that we don't need to be calling him Bo Dallas anymore. We should be calling him Taylor Rotunda. I mean, the only reason why we were calling him Bo Dallas because that's the character we remember him as in the past years. That's the only reason why we were calling him that, because that's what we remember. After that promo, I don't think we should let Bo Dallas go and just be calling him Taylor Rotunda. Now, we all have siblings. Daniel, you and I, we're younger siblings. We have older brothers. I think Lewis, you're the oldest brother in your family, or do you? Yeah,
oldest. Yeah.
So we understood when he was cutting that promo about his brother. And I'm not gonna lie, I was actually watching it. I actually got a little choked up watching it, because he was actually. I like the fact that they actually addressed the fact that they're going with this group. Knowing that it's kind of like an homage to Bray, and it's really like kind of like Bray's idea. Even though they kind of worked on it together. If you watch the documentary on Bray, they kind of worked on it together at the very end. This has always been kind of like Bray's mindset, and I love how they just like addressed it up front, because there was an audience of fans after they debuted last week that were saying that they shouldn't be doing this. This is Bray Wyatt's thing. Even if it is a tribute to him, at the end of the day, it won't be the same because Bray Wyatt's not here, but. I think they're gonna make some a lot of positivity with it. I mean, I love the fact that the one thing that I really did like about it is the fact that I don't even think they even like wrote a script. I literally think they sat down, recorded that, and they said Taylor, just talk about your brother, talk about your brother, and talk about everything, because none of that stuff, everything he said, none of that seemed like it was written down or scripted. That was all from his heart. Like you could, like as a younger brother, if my older brother passed, I would be expressing my sentiments to him the exact same way he was, and it's like and you feel that, and at the end he talks about how like him, Joe Gacy, Dexter Loomis, Eric Rowan, Nikki Cross, they were all kind of like forgotten in a sense. That's the reason why they're together now. And in a sense, all five of them kind of were, especially if you look at their gimmicks and how they were booked in WWE. They kind of all were kind of forgotten in a sense. So I like that aspect of it. But moving forward, I do think it is going to be kind of like, I guess, challenging moving forward, because week after week we don't know what exactly we're going to get to like push this forward. I know we talked about last week about them possibly working with top talent like Jey Uso and others, and we didn't necessarily want that to happen, but at the same time it kind of needs to happen, because if they're working with like lower card talent, that's how people are going to start thinking of them as a lower. But and this is supposed to be like a main act, but that's going to only be the only challenging part about it. Other than that, if we're going to get more promos like this, if we're going to get more creepy things like Nikki Cross coming out with the mask and giving video to Michael Cole, I would have loved if Pat McAfee was there, because that would have been, because initially it was supposed to be McAfee, but moving forward is definitely going to be interesting, and I'm very interested since we're all going to Monday Night Raw tomorrow night to see how they're going to take this the next week. So definitely very interesting moving forward.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting moving forward. But this interview, it just poured the soul out of Taylor Rotunda, Bo Dallas as people know him, Uncle Howdy as people know him, and I think I like the interview of Uncle Howdy interviewing Bo Dallas, Taylor Rotunda, because it's showing the split personality. And I hope this is not the end of Bo Dallas, right? Because I like the fact of them doing those interviews. So, like, even I'm thinking down the line, either after each action, they should continue those interviews. And you kind of get an idea of where the group is going and what they're trying to attack or allude to it or create riddles behind it. They should continue to do that. But this interview, definitely everyone has emotional ties with this because everyone has a family member, a brother, and stuff like that. So, and everyone loved Bray. So, of course, everyone has the emotional ties to this interview and what Bo was given here. Nothing but respect for it. It was awesome. It was cool. And my only question again is that's the only thing that I have with what Brian was saying. What are they going to do going forward? Who are they going to be intermingling with? Who are they going to be attacking? And what's the destiny of this group, right? Because usually a group always has a goal. So eventually we're going to have to figure out that point. I hope that we don't see Bo Dallas on screen in terms of wrestling or anything like that. I hope they don't do that. I hope they keep Bo Dallas as like kind of like the mental aspect of like the interviews and stuff like that. I don't want him to appear on screen. I want Uncle Howdy to appear on screen in the ring. I don't want Bo Dallas to appear. But other than that, I'm intrigued to see where it's going because, of course, we got Nikki Cross delivering the tape. I'm wondering if they kidnapped Pat McAfee to some degree. That's what I first thought. That's what I first thought.
That's what I thought too until he came out on his show the next day and said why he
wasn't. That's what I first thought. And I was just like, did they kidnap him? Is that the angle?
But Daniel, as far as you saying like what their goal is, they don't have a goal. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Shout out to Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
Shout out to Heath Ledger as the Joker. But no, I'm intrigued by this, man. And Bo Dallas showing his range here, right? Because that was a great like we saw how annoying he was as Bo Dallas and doing that whole Bo Leave gimmick and stuff like that in NXT. To get this range from him, it's awesome to see because we always saw him as a goofy character, gimmick character, and now we're seeing him as a serious character. So this is something that's a new level of his entertaining that he can do. So I'm definitely interested in that. I don't know if anybody else in the group is going to be talking either. I don't know how that's going to go down the line. But right now, I like what Bo's doing. I hope that it continues. I hope it continues to be better.
Dexter Lumis definitely isn't talking.
Oh yeah, no.
You don't need to have him talk. I mean, we saw that during NXT 2.0, that one line he had. I
never even heard it.
yeah, you don't need to hear it. It was 2.0 day, so we're moving on from it.
Oh man, and I like Dexter Lumis, even though it was the Dexter, which is on Netflix right now. This is Dexter on Netflix right now. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see what happens with this group. I'm hoping. I don't know. Again, I'm always skeptical about the supernatural stuff. I hope they tone that down into a certain aspect where it's okay and a certain amount of level where it gets over. But we'll see what happens, man. Nikki Cross looking crazy in the ring. They're gonna escalate it, and hopefully we see it on Monday night when we go because they're definitely something has to happen. Something has to happen. Something has to happen. Yeah. But let's get into other stuff there. Let's get into the Judgment Day adding more gold. With the help of Liv Morgan continuing her revenge tour, some sorts, by helping the Judgment Day, tricking R-Truth into putting the tag team titles on the line against Finn Balor and JD McDonough. What do you guys think about that and this whole Liv Morgan actually and Finn Balor type of triangle web with Dom Mysterio? What do you guys make of this? Because this is just,
I mean, you guys know where they're going. You guys know where they're going with this with Finn, right? Because now it seems as though we see from the outside that Liv is pushing up on Dominic, but now we might be finding out that it's actually like Finn is the one who's actually kind of like putting in work, so to say. And I wonder if Dominic is going to start feeling some type of way about Finn, and then we're going to see finally those true emotions for Liv come out, and then when Mommy eventually comes back, and then that's going to be a thing. I'm just looking forward. I'm just thinking that'd be the perfect way to go with it.
He had the hotel key card.
Yeah, exactly.
They were alone together in the locker room. It's adding up. You can't just act like you're playing. You can't just act like you're playing WWE 2K24 on the back, Finn Balor. You can't keep fooling.
So
like she got us a P4, man. I mean a P5.
So that's very interesting. But in another way, I'm actually glad that the kind of Judgment Day came out on top because I was done with Miz and R-Truth being tag team champions. Now I know Lewis. Did you predict that they was going to win in that WrestleMania? Oh, you did predict they were going to win in that WrestleMania. It was a great moment to have the 40-something-year-old R-Truth climbing the ladder. And
still looks great.
The equivalent of Zack Ryder. The equivalent of Zack Ryder winning the title with an extended run.
No, that's not the equivalent.
That's all it was.
That's all it was. Exactly. It was a great moment.
That was literally a great moment.
But the shelf life of this gimmick, was very limited. This tag team wasn't gonna last. I'm actually getting to the point right now where I'm demanding Miz to turn heel again because like I said, I've never been a fan of Miz as a babyface. I never will be a fan of Miz as a babyface. He needs to go back to being a heel. Like even now, the more dumb Truth acts. It's like heel Miz would have been like, what the F are you doing? Like, what? But babyface Miz is kind of just like accepting everything. And it's just like he's a heel. Let's get back to that. Now, to echo what Lewis's sentiments were about not Lewis but Daniel's sentiments about Judgment Day winning the gold again when you got all these other tag teams. That's the only negative that you can take from it. It's just the fact that. They talk about how their tag team division is elite. They talk about the teams that were actually in the match at WrestleMania to split the tag team titles, and talk about how impressive the tag team division is on both Raw and SmackDown. But if it's so impressive, why go back to the Judgment Day? I mean, and the only reason why it makes sense is because of this whole Liv storyline. Now, I would love to see another tag team again there. I would love to see maybe the Creed brothers get in there. I mean, we've been waiting for them to finally break out. I think it's actually going to be coming soon because they did tease them and Chad Gable on Raw. Yep. So I think they're finally going to pivot in that direction. But I just feel as though it made sense for the story, but I don't think it was good for the tag team division. The fact that you have to go back to Judgment Day, good for the story, but not good for the division.
I mean, all it's doing is just creating more of a wedge between Dom and Finn eventually, which we think that they're going to go down the line to. Whatever wedge this is in the Judgment Day, right? Because, we all know Damian Priest is going to face Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank. If Damian loses, he leaves the Judgment Day. So that's another layer on top of all this going into it. What impact is this? And we've seen Liv kind of plant seeds in the group with Dom first. Now it's Finn Balor. How far is this going to go? Is this going to lead to Finn Balor becoming champion, or Dom and Finn fighting it out? What is going to happen? And JD McDonough's in here. Carlito's been great in this. Literally saying that's cool to anything.
Carlito has low key for the last month been like the MVP of Judgment Day with his everything he's. A month in Judgment Day immediately cancels out everything he did in LWO because he didn't do shit in LWO compared to what we're seeing now. So literally, he was in LWO.
They're giving him something to do. He's wrestling. He's interacting. Like they're actually giving him something to do. He's not just a hard man out.
He literally had one good moment, and that was just to come help out in Puerto Rico at Backlash. That was it.
That's pretty much it.
When he was the mystery partner in whatever tag team match it was. Literally those two moments. Everything else he did in LWO was just like he was there.
Yeah, but it's just good to see him actually getting some substance on TV because I was worried how they brought him back and everything, and I was just like, I don't know. He should go back to his old song. That's all I'm gonna say. Please go back to your old song. I don't know what they have to.
I don't think he wanted to. That had to have been a him call. I don't think. I really do think WWE would have just gave him his music back. I think that was more him. He didn't want to go back to it.
Just give him a remix. Just give him a remix of it. Something, please. But
hey, they're trying to find a new music producer at WWE.
Really?
I think they or whoever's been making the music recently is either leaving soon or has left. I forget.
I mean, they got a lot of they got a lot of complaints from fans about the music because it was just like sometimes you hear the music, and that's what it was.
There's like very few catchy like intros. Like the one that did it for me was Jimmy's music. Jimmy's music was so bad.
Bloodline generic.
It was like some orchestra type thing, and I'm like, what?
Some shit.
Yeah, I'm like, this is so bad.
I don't know who was it? Was it was LFO or CFO? Were they with it for a little bit of what time?
So CFO was with it for a little time. That's the reason why we got all them great themes like that. Like I remember,
bring them back.
The last thing that they did before they left was Keith Lee's theme music, which I like that Bask in his glory or whatever it was.
Bask in his glory.
Yeah, that was the last good theme song they made. Then they got let go. They brought another group in, and that's when the music went downhill.
Because literally, no one likes AJ Styles' music. It's okay as a heel theme, I guess, but it's like
it's all right.
He can be a
his
heel.
Theme song is okay. It's not that bad.
He can be a heel and have his music. Fucking Naomi should have her own music again, her old song again. It's like.
You don't think this current thing that she's using right now is better than the one that she was using? I think it is.
No, I like the other one. That fits her gimmick.
Yeah, I like the old one.
It's more hype. It's more hype. Way more hype. But overall, man, Liv Morgan causing havoc left and right. And also getting into with Zelina Vega. What do you guys think about Zelina Vega getting screen time? Obviously screwed out of her Money in the Bank qualifying match. And this stare down with Liv Morgan and Dom. What do you guys make of this now? Zelina Vega getting involved.
Thank you. Lewis has preached it. Dan, I know you've preached it a couple of times. I know I've preached it. Zelina Vega is so fucking underrated, and it's like, why don't you guys take advantage of her more? She's tremendous. She's tremendous on the mic. She can definitely go in the ring. I mean, her husband is fucking Aleister Black. Malachi Black. So they train together. I follow her on Instagram. She trains the exact way he does with the kicks and the strikes. So she's great. She's great in the ring. Obviously she's a beautiful face. So it's like she has everything. So somebody
the fans can get behind.
Exactly. And they can get behind her.
Maybe what they need to do. You know what they need to do with her? For me, I think it's a stature type thing because we all know, like, we've seen Liv Morgan compared to other people, and like I said in the chat, like her compared to Zelina compared to Liv Morgan, I was like, how is she shorter than her? But then, like, I was like, it might have been the shoes, but still, it's like, how is you still shorter than?
I know for a fact. I bet you they told Liv to wear them shoes that way she looks dominant to her. I know for a fact they probably told her to do that.
But you know what I say, and I mean it wouldn't happen or whatever. But just because we've seen it happen before, if you have someone that's smaller like that, give her a luchador mask. She's the female Rey Mysterio, and then everybody will get behind her.
No, I think people are behind her if they pushed her.
Because, I think the LWO has been holding her back for a while.
People were bet behind Liv Morgan for the longest time, and I'm like, she's not the greatest in ring. She's not the greatest on the mic. This is her best mic work and ring work of late.
Yeah,
Zelina Vega has been doing that stuff for a while. Has a better ring.
She was clean in the ring, and it actually worked for her too.
Yeah, so like she's actually good. So it's like, if anybody should be getting the push, I believe it's Zelina Vega. I feel like she's good enough right now where her skills are all going to come together. And it's like, she's good in the ring, she's good on the mic, she's good with her acting skills, her facial expressions, all that stuff. It's like, let's do something with Zelina Vega, please.
Yeah.
So I don't know when Rhea Ripley's coming back, probably after Money in the Bank and leading into WrestleMania, hopefully. But Zelina Vega definitely, I think she's going to have a match at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That's what I think it's going to lead to. But overall, do something with Zelina Vega. Even if she loses to Liv Morgan at Money in the Bank or whatever the case may be, continue to use her and feature her.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, continue to. There's something there, especially with Brian saying how she trains with Malachi Black. Mm-hmm. Has the strike. She has a long history. She's been wrestling for a long time. So it's like, we got to start.
People don't know. Like, bro, she was in TNA in the beginning, and like she was like a TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champion over there. So she has experience. So it's like people forget about that stuff. It's like, bro, she can go in the ring, but they just don't use her as often as they should.
Yeah.
They got to give her a go. But her and Liv Morgan battling, Dom getting in the middle of it. It's like, okay, it's a nice little diversion because people have been saying that Liv Morgan needs to, defend the belt and actually have a challenger if Rhea's gone for however long she's gone. Recently just got married, kayfabe outside. Recently just got married to Buddy Murphy there. So hopefully they have a honeymoon that's like a week and she's back next week because I miss Rhea Ripley. We need Rhea Ripley back. We need her to get that.
Liv's got to take everything and then Rhea's coming back.
I'm gonna just say this. Congratulations to both Buddy Matthews and Rhea Ripley, but Buddy Matthews definitely did break a couple of hearts when he did with that. Some of these
he did what he needed to do, man.
Gotta put your mark on it, right?
Yeah.
She's mine.
Well, yeah, man. Zelina Vega set to face Liv Morgan at Money in the Bank for the title. So we'll see how that goes. Let's get into some other news here with Dijak getting released from NXT, from WWE. A guy who seemed like he was always just one step away from the next level, right? A guy that's very impressive in the ring. I remember all his fights with Keith Lee for the North American title way back. His fights with Ilya Dragunov as recently as, I believe, at the end of last year. Fighting Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, Wes Lee. He's been a staple in NXT, especially in this 2.0 for a little while now. What do you guys think about his release and coming to an end?
Why? I think this is one of the first releases that WWE has done under the Triple H era, where it's like skeptical all around. Why this guy? And I'm gonna go back to the example that I made in the chat. So you decide not to renegotiate with this guy, but you still got a fucking 7 foot Nigerian giant on your roster. Who?
Hey! Time out.
No, let the man speak. Let the man speak.
Time out. That man, that 7'3" Nigerian giant, wrestled Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Damn it.
And got his ass beat like he always does when he's matched up. And there's a reason why that man has not been featured on TV since the Royal Rumble. As a matter of fact, I'm convinced that the only reason why he was in the Royal Rumble was because Brock Lesnar couldn't be in the Royal Rumble. That whole situation. He hasn't been seen since. I don't understand it at all. Like Daniel just mentioned everything that he's done. The feud with Keith Lee, the great matches he had with Ilya Dragunov, which I felt that feud was very highly underrated. That feud is the reason why Dragunov elevated to the next level to become an NXT title because of Dijak. And no matter who they put him in the ring with, it was always a great match. He always brought the best out of everybody. I remember the match he had with Wes Lee. I forget which NXT event it was. I remember it. That was a complete show stealer. Like, he puts on great matches. He's a great heel gimmick. So I don't understand why. And when he explained what happened, pretty much saying how they had planned for him to be going after the NXT title. Then they kind of drafted him to Raw, knowing that they weren't going to renew his contract, and I just think it's unfair because you got these other talents, these other big men. I mean, I'm not just Omos. There are other guys who are on their roster, which he's like 10 times better than. So it honestly makes you think: did it have to do with talent? Did it have to do with personal stuff? I mean, the way he's telling it, it makes it seem like it might have been personal, because I don't get why you let that guy go, because as a big man, he's so unique. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it was also behind Dijak just because he was from Worcester, from Mass.
That's another thing. He's from out here.
He's from our way, and I remember when he first came out in NXT, and I was like, I wasn't sure about the whole feast your eyes type thing. I don't know if maybe just something he was doing in the indies, but it worked for him. And he's a big dude. He's like 6'6" or something like that.
In NXT, he looks like a giant.
Exactly.
And that's something that they desperately needed in size, which is another reason why I'm like, why did they let him go?
and I was going to say this when Brian was talking about Omos. It's just like, I think we've come to a point where these big men aren't
lumbering
the
giants.
aren't the big spectacles they were back in the day. Like honestly, I feel like Braun Strowman is probably the last big man.
He's the best at his size for WWE.
Exactly.
Everyone
But
else has not been as effective.
Yeah.
But it's like I think we're just in an era where it's like just because you're big, it's just not going to work at this day and age, and we've seen it. I mean, like we saw how massive the Great Khali was, but the Great Khali wasn't the best in ring. He had like 1, 2, 3 moves, and that was it.
But he had a whole country in his corner. That's why they got away with that.
Exactly. But like now, it's like we've seen it with Omos. If they really, really wanted to push Omos, they could have. And we haven't had sight of him in God knows when, like Brian said. So it's just like I think we're past that, like because he's had his few opportunities and they just weren't anything amazing. It's like it's crazy to think that besides Braun Strowman, like Big Show was that big man that was utilized so much in every avenue: tag teams, singles belts, championship belts. But he could tell a story, comedy. All of it, so it's just like to think that like we get these big guys now and they're not being pushed in any type of way besides just being imposing on whoever. It's like, I think just being big isn't cutting it. But in terms of Dijak, this was a big guy who could fly off the top rope, do things that 6'6" guys, should be doing. Kind of like a Damian Priest type thing, Damian Priest is pretty fucking big too, but this dude will still do a flip off the whatever, and
if the ropes are set,
or in good condition and not, he'll do that like step, moonsault type thing off the ropes and stuff. But it's like Dijak he had some amazing matches with Keith Lee. I remember watching those. I was just like, they need to put some type of title on him. They need to bring him up.
Yeah.
And I was really excited when I didn't even see that he got drafted until like later on. So I was hoping to see him. And the new look he had in NXT later on, I thought worked well for him. Maybe he was a little too orange tan, kind of like Braun Breaker for me, but he was still very imposing in the way he looked. And the fact that, like Brian said, this is the first release where we're all, at least I was like, this is a head scratcher because this dude had it all. Maybe, I don't remember if he was, he definitely wasn't the worst on the mic, but he also wasn't the greatest, but he still had decent mic skills.
I'm just going to say this. There's worse people on the mic that are still employed.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure. Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening.
In-ring ability, I thought he was phenomenal, especially for his stature. So I'm like, how do you not utilize somebody like that? Like you could easily put him in the mid card and have him go up. Because if he was on, did he get drafted to Raw or SmackDown?
Raw.
Like and I think one of the guys, somebody I follow, was like, you utilize all these new talents so well. Carmelo Hayes, Tiffany Stratton, Braun Breaker. Mm-hmm. Like you've immersed them into their main roster so well. You couldn't give him a shot. You were just like, hey, we're going to draft you and we're going to release you. It just makes no sense. Like, so maybe Brian's right. It could have been a personal, or it could have just been like, we can't fit you in. We're going to let you go.
We've been signing a whole Samoan dynasty. We can't afford you.
We got to free up for this thing we're doing over here right now. This Bloodline thing is costing a lot of money. So, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Issues in GM mode.
I feel like he definitely probably could have still made it to the top of the mountain in NXT at least.
They need people. I feel like Ethan Page is a nice addition. Noam Dar, they're trying to push up, and I'm just like,
who else is Trick
you
Williams?
Need somebody of substance. You need
who else is Trick Williams going to fight right now?
I mean, you got Sean Spears, you got Ethan Page. I mean, there are a couple of guys on there.
Sean Spears isn't going to do anything. He's going to enhance.
Let's be honest. Those guys are, I don't want to say past their prime, but they're age, they're seasoned. Dijak is young. Like, why? Like, he has good size. He has a good presence. All his matches that I've seen have been bangers. Like, hard hitting. He can. If you fight Ilya Dragunov the way you fought him, you should be on the roster. If there's ever a litmus test, is that guy,
Like,
right?
Like Sean Spears lost my vote after he left NXT. You know, he became the chairman and then just became a background guy.
I'm not gonna hold that against him because that was more of Tony Khan booking him poorly over there at AEW.
Yeah,
but even when he
was actually really behind him. Yeah, the perfect 10. The perfect 10 I thought was a great thing.
The gimmick was good, but
yeah,
there's a shelf life with that.
It is.
There's a shelf like that's not going to main event. That's not going to.
I felt like that was kind of like a Rusev Day.
Exactly,
could have gone over easily.
Vince actually hated that the fact that people were chanting 10 because it was just like, nah, the chant is over. He's not over. So and the chant is over.
He's right, and let's be honest, he was right. I'm not saying that Sean Spears isn't good in the ring. I'm not saying he's another. I'm not saying he's just another guy. He's obviously an excellent hand, but if you're talking about investing in your future and having an impact, Dijak was on the verge of that, and I felt like he should be in that position right now to go after Trick Williams and be a formidable foe. So hopefully, and then this is another thing. He released details saying that, hey, they didn't even negotiate with me, which is weird. Like they're just letting you walk like that.
That's what I'm saying. That had to have been personal. They wouldn't even negotiate with him. Like he must have did something that.
And this is not like back in the day, like the '90s, where you hear guys just, they didn't remember the contract was up and the guy accidentally let go and he walked away. That's not one of these situations. They know who's up. So if the internet is reporting on whose contract is up every day, every week, like how did you guys not conversate with him? I don't get it. He has good size. He's 6'6", athletic, can move in the ring.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Even though I wasn't a fan of his latest gimmick, but it isn't like this is a gimmick that is like the dentist or the repo man or like that's something that people can forget and you can make something new. Like I don't understand how this happened. I don't know.
Yeah, and if I was him for as far as future opportunities go, I would sign with TNA because from what I've seen with Moose as being their top champion, he doesn't have a lot of heel competitors to face off. So you could throw Dijak in there. He'll be a top star in TNA. I don't think AEW is a good idea with him because Wardlow,
you're just going to get lost in the shuffle.
Lance Archer, Brian Cage, Powerhouse Hobbs. AEW does not know how to book big men, and they proved that when they fucked up Wardlow when he was so over. So
now this could be. I will say this about AEW: if there's somebody that hasn't been known for the WWE audience, that's somebody that can play a part in AEW, and they can create their own character, their own image of him, and do something with him. If he was go to AEW. But I'm with Brian. I think he should go to TNA. And it's funny because TNA does have a working relationship with WWE.
Which is actually funny because if he does go there, it's like, we're still working with these guys over here.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel like I don't know why they just let that go cold. Unless it's a part of a storyline, I don't see any reason to let him go, man. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me, man. So that's definitely a loss for WWE. One of the few losses that we've seen, right? Like we haven't seen WWE make a mistake in a little while.
I mean, there's still people saying that they should keep Ricochet, but it's just like, yo, bro,
I didn't see. I didn't see anywhere else Ricochet can go unless they were going to push him. I don't know where.
Yeah,
So who knows, man? But Ring Takes goes to Monday Night Raw. Our first outing tomorrow at the TD Garden. All going to Raw.
Not our first. The first is all of us going.
That's all of us going.
First of all of us going. So definitely going to be fun. Definitely going to have a bunch of pictures and videos from the venue at the TD Garden. We're getting some Money in the Bank qualifier matches. Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and Ilya Dragunov in one match. And then I got to look at the other match. Zelina Vega is facing Liv Morgan in the title match tomorrow. Zoe Stark, Dakota Kai, and Ivy Nile. And then we have Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. They're reigniting the feud between those two.
Hey,
is there any chance Rhea Ripley shows up tomorrow?
Nah, they're not going to waste that on the go home show of Money in the Bank. Which is cool because the last time I went to Raw on the Garden, I was actually at the go home show for Survivor Series in 2019, the year that NXT was involved, and I remember how good the show that was. So, it's like
WWE pulled the trigger.
Yeah,
pulled the trigger.
It's not time yet for Rhea Ripley. No.
She's not wrestling. Liv is not wrestling at Money in the Bank.
She's not. No.
Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. Like, there's got to be something.
Unless she gets DQ'd and then they give Zelina another match at Money in the Bank. I feel like that would be, or she cheats, or she DQs herself from Zelina. Maybe.
What?
There's got to be something. Or
Dom gets involved, and I don't know.
What's the Money in the Bank? What's the Money in the Bank card right now? We got the 2 ladder matches. You got Seth against Damian.
Yeah.
You got Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. You got the 6-man tag with Cody and Randy in them. So there's your 5. So I don't think they're adding any more matches.
Bailey doesn't have a match, right?
She doesn't.
No. WWE pulled the trigger. Bring in Rhea. We need it. We need it.
Oh no. LA Knight's not facing Liv
Morgan can win her match early on by hook or by crook. Have Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio be the main event. Have Liv Morgan get involved, and then bring out Rhea Ripley. Do it.
But Logan Paul is definitely going to cost LA Knight their Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah,
that's definitely going to happen.
Oh yeah, that is definitely going to happen. That was a good match too with Santos Escobar, Logan Paul, and LA Knight on SmackDown. That was a good match. But yeah, we're going to be in the building for Raw, which is going to be awesome. Can't wait to see how that goes down. And this is a go-home show, so definitely going to be a lot to go through, and definitely have some big matches on the card. And this is going to be a 3-hour show, so we'll see how it goes tonight at the Garden. Well, when people are watching this tonight at the Garden, so we'll see how it goes. But that will do it for this episode of Ring Takes. As always, thank you guys for doing this. It's actually a Sunday, so definitely not to our usual schedule, but we'll get to it. But yeah, man, that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to be coming back. Giving our picks for Money in the Bank, giving you a review of Monday Night Raw, close up and personal. And until next time.